design is it's sort of a new title in a way that's getting thrown around within learning and development departments within companies. And exactly what you do as a learning experience designer varies vastly, right? And I only started to call myself a learning experience designer because I realized I've been in the ed tech space, so shaping user experience um, for like mentorship, coaching, uh, companies, job search, like a job search department, like career services, essentially.
Hmm.
And like onboarding, like when I'm scaling out coaching teams, there's the piece where I'm training coaches on, like, I'm leading onboarding, right? So onboarding itself is a learning experience, right?
Hmm.
And students going through a career curriculum through like online modules, that's a learning experience as well, right? So I've done so many different things that I just like put it all together and called it learning experience designer.
Hmm.
But um, what you actually do on the day to day for learning experience design, it really depends on the company.
Hmm. Right.
Mhm.
It's just like UXR too. Actually, like, and
Yeah.
like when you mentioned that, described it, I'm like, wow, there's probably so much opportunity in the world of like, is LED the right way to even say it? Like learning experience design. Do people short form it to LED or is that weird?
LED, I thought it was like the television LED, like LED screen. I'm like, what's LED? Like, because
Oh,
the accurate, I would use LX, right?
oh, okay, okay, okay.
Yeah, is
Hmm.
it?
Hmm.
Um, but so I have actually been trying to pivot out of startup and enter more established companies that have the budget to have like a L&D department, right?
Hmm.
Um, Even if I'm applying to different learning experience roles, like what you actually do is very different. Some learning experience designer, their roles are very similar to instructional designers. Have you heard of instructional designers?
I imagine it's more so like this is the product and this is how you use it. More technical rather than kind of holistic and looking at like a person's growth,
Yeah.
I guess. Is it some, but
Mhm.
I don't know. I still don't know. I'm that's a guess, I guess.
So for instructional designers have been around for a very long time,
Mm.
and instructional design used to be like freelance work.
Hmm.
Instructional designers were not like full-time employees, but nowadays there's more opportunities to become a full-time employee,
Hmm.
right? Because companies emphasize training, employee training to retain talent, right? Because it's costly. Um, if they leave, and hiring and all of that, it's costly, so they're realizing, oh shoot, like we need to help them grow within our company,
Hmm.
otherwise losing talent, right?
Hmm. Right.
Why they're spending more money on L&D, developing talent internally. And
Right.
what that is, they're creating their own curriculum, and there need to be people who, like an instructional designer, that can understand the problem and then work with subject matter experts to sort of extract and curate the knowledge and turn it into an online course,
Hmm.
right? So there's these software, Adobe, Articulate. There's these module course development software that they use to create these programs, courses. So that's what like an instructional designer does.
Hmm.
And
It's
and yeah.
yeah. You know, it sounds like that reminds me of like it sounds like what user research is, what market research is to user research. In a way, there's some parallel, right? Like one's like an older kind of like established discipline. You'll find big companies has it, market research, everyone has it. Um, but then there's the newer kind of form that's more tailored to the individual, and that's like user research, and that sounds like LX in a way for me. It's like, but I'm curious then, like what's the best way to position, and how would you want to position? And I guess it's related to, like you wanting to get into the bigger established firms and out of startup world, right? So like that's how you'd position yourself, right? Like any thoughts on that?
It's so from my experience, what I realized that, like you said, the user research field is very much dominated by folks with like PhDs,
Hmm.
right? So data science was initially like that too. When in the very early beginnings, they used to go for those with like PhDs, masters, very high level, right? Because they don't exactly know what. So a lot of companies like Disney, for instance, they just knew that data science was becoming important, and they realized, oh shit, we need to find talent for this, right? Because everyone else is doing it. So there were a lot of instances where our students got hired by these companies, and they thought there would be like an established data science team, but there wasn't.
Mm,
And so L&D is sort of that way right now because the gatekeepers usually they have PhDs, masters in organizational psychology,
hmm.
right?
Hmm.
And folks like that usually want to hire people that come from similar background, right?
Right.
Because it's clear.
Hmm.
And so the funny thing is it's like growth stage companies, yet they're they're leading L&D within a rapidly growing company, right? So um, I thought, okay, because they come from a more traditional background like academia,
Hmm.
they would want folks who can navigate startup pace of work,
Right.
right? Um, and so what I went with them was I have startup experience, but I've shaped learning experiences. I understand how I make decisions is I take so I consider I equate a learning experience to like a product. I see it as a product,
Hmm.
right?
Hmm.
So um, I I understand user research, user UX. I understand all of that, and the theories that I implement is derived from that, not like adult learning theory, um, which are very like which are derived from more of academia.
Hmm. That's always
So,
an interesting conversation, right? Like how, like, I mean, yeah, there's a lot there because like in one sense you want to be more practical, right? Like people who work with other, like you have more experience working with the other kind of like disciplines that a startup would have, etc., etc. um but then there's like the other side of like academia. So I'm curious, like where would it be super ideal for you to go, and like what would that then involve?
mhm. Yeah, I think so. For me, what I've concluded over time was I've I have dedicated many years working for startups trying to build out their career service platform, right? So essentially what it is users are all looking for jobs or trying to figure out what career path they want.
Mhm.
Or they've decided I want to pivot into tech, so I'm I need to find a job, right? So from knowing what you want to helping you getting the job, like I was working on building out that whole process. How can I make it as easy, fun, and engaging as possible? And it's not the students just looking for something on their own. It's students working with coaches and industry experts, right?
Mhm.
Industry experts, so they have an opportunity to sort of like network, and coaches that can help them like develop their or polish their resumes, cover letters, and whatnot. So since a job search experience is such it's a it's a dreadful experience for everyone, right?
Uh-huh.
So always figure out like how can we make this efficient and effective as possible? How can we leverage tech to make this easy and make this journey really fun,
Mhm.
right? So that's the problem I've been tackling, and because ultimately in startups it's not easy. Like sometimes you don't have the budget, sometimes you have a leader that don't want to focus on certain things that I feel like are important, and I'm closer to the users. So although we want to create this amazing experience, how we get there while we discuss how we get there, there's a lot of like conflict, right?
Hmm.
Like, what should we prioritize? Which feature should we prioritize? Do we even need this feature? And so I think over time, I sort of got burnt out trying to solve this problem, right?
Uh-huh.
That's why I felt like, oh my gosh, do I want to leave startup? Because I'm sick of working with like limited resources,
Uh-huh.
right? And um, and so that's why I kind of looked into like L&D and whatnot. But ultimately, I think through the interviews, they realized, oh, she really cares about this coaching thing, right? Like that's a domain that I really like. And so right now I'm actually in transition, and I'm focusing on companies that are building out coaching products. So just continuing my work, but before in startups, if I were like the head of education, um, like a very fuzzy functional, like a fuzzy role, right? Because in startups, you wear many hats. But I want to go to a more established company. And if I go to an established company, I sort of need to put myself in a box. I need to categorize myself, right?
Hmm.
And pivot to become a PM, product manager for a coaching product.
Interesting. So PM for a coaching product would be pretty different from being a learning experience designer in a company. No.
Learning experience planner in a company. Yeah, but also know that in a big company, they could also use third party software or like build out their own employee coaching platform,
Hmm.
right? So I think Lattice does this. It measures like employee performance, figures out, okay, how can we help them grow? Let's let's recommend these modules. So it's the same type of program,
Mm-hmm.
right? Or product.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I feel like Lattice, you would probably kill it at Lattice, right?
Mhm.
Like I've heard great things about the company too. I've seen the product around, haven't used it, but
Mhm.
um, so you're thinking like doing so still in a way, learning experience design, but now more so like building products, like
Yeah, focusing on the
the
product.
product side. That's why you said like okay, more so PM side things, right?
Because
And
the
then
product makes the experience scalable, right? Because I'm all about scaling things, right? Making it accessible to as many people as possible. And technology allows the coaching experience to become it makes it more affordable. Because coaching, one-on-one coaching, it's like 100, 200, $300,000 per session, right? And if you look at the coaching industry, everyone starts out like as a normal coach, but eventually they get into executive coaching because that pays the best
mhm,
money.
mhm.
Then what about those who can't afford that, right?
Yeah, that's interesting. I had an idea for a coaching product. I don't know how, like, if it's ever gonna put, I'm gonna ever put any energy into it, or if it's ever gonna have a future at this point. Um, but yeah, to coach on, not me as a coach, but like there's a demand for it. So like finding coaches, for like information diet nutritionists. So like I'm still figuring out the term, but like kind of like for example, like oh, like how much social media did you consume today? Like how many hours did you spend reading instead of like scrolling on TikTok, whatever, right?
Mhm.
So I think there's something there. I think that like whatever title, whatever comes of it is gonna boom in the next like 5 years, like really boom. Um,
Wait,
but
why a coach for that? Doesn't Apple remind you of how much you use your phone?
yeah, it does, but it doesn't really work as well. Um, no, but you're right. Right. I mean that just goes to show the demand that's already intrinsically there, right? Like that like Apple's building out the product for it already. I don't think it's as effective. I think this is
Oh,
like a you need a human part for it first,
right.
to really like discover more about what people really care for. Um, and also to help them through the not picking up their phone as much, because I don't know how effective that is. It's not effective. I've seen people do it. um But no, but you're right. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, like how do you sell that? Like if you show them, you spent 9 hours, your 1 hour, like how much do you think you're worth? And you plug it in, I'm worth this much.
Hmm.
This is the amount of money that you wasted by being on this app, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
Want to fix this? Here's a coach. That's what you're thinking about, right? And a coach helping you. It's like it's an addiction coach, right?
Yeah,
Helps addiction.
yeah, yeah. No, no, yeah, for sure. Like
Yeah.
that's an interesting way. Like so funny. Like it's like tying tech that's already scaled, but now
Hmm.
back to something that's like really like one-on-one, not scalable, and like just um, human, like overly rote and human, right? Um, which is interesting. Um,
I feel for the younger generation because they grow up so attached to tech. I also believe there is gonna be a time where it's they'll pay for human interaction. I
yeah.
know moving towards like metaverse, all of that.
I mean, that's already happening. Like I'm literally paying. What's therapy for? Does therapy really solve my problems, or am I just really looking for like someone to listen? Right?
Mm-hmm.
This is
Yeah.
it's. I don't know if it's sad, but it works.
Mm-hmm.
That's the reality, and that's what it is. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't even know though. Like with this like ID idea,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's moving more like I think it's anti-scale,
Mm-hmm.
like because I would need to find actual coaches, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't know. But one part of me thinks that it's like, we're already super saturated already with like everyone wanting to scale and tech bros and whatnot, that like if we try to actually get a genuine coaching business together, like it could be actually be sustainable and have not like a crazy 10x whatever, but like a solid 30% margin, and be like a business that actually can exist for 30 years, and like
Yeah.
I'm cool with that, because that's still like would be good.
Yeah,
uh,
because human connection is not scalable.
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Um,
exactly.
Human interaction is not scalable. And I know there's this obsession with like scaling, you're right. Uh, but I don't know. That's why what's that movie? Her? She?
Her, yeah.
Yeah, her. You have your robot.
Hmm.
Mm.
That was a good
You
movie.
just you put on your goggles or whatever, the
Yeah,
glasses,
yeah,
and you have therapy with your virtual therapist, and they're listening to you. They're responding to you. AI.
yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah.
It's already happening.
Mhm.
But yeah. Anyway, uh,
Mhm.
how can I help you with anything?
I don't know. What kind of people are you interviewing? Is it what I mean, what's your goal? Are you interviewing people in different professions so that people could learn about different professions through your YouTube platform, or what's your goal?
How dare you deflect it onto me like that? No, what's your goal? I don't know. I mean like through my work, or through conversations like this, or through what? Like
Yeah, through conversations like this.
I'm just I mean like I think the bot that I sent out
Uh-huh.
was really to connect with interesting people. It
Uh-huh.
was more of a prospecting tool. But I think I saw your JD, your kind of like your job description. I'm like, this is you're probably not within the type of demographic that I want to reach. But
Uh-huh.
just thought you were an interesting person. Saw that you had the learning experience background, learning experience design background, and so I just thought to pick your brain. It was more so that.
So what were the keywords? of your target audience?
I
What
think
were you looking?
I think it was like founder or PM
Mm-hmm.
or advisor. Um,
Is your ultimate goal to start your own company? Is that what you're trying to do?
yeah, I'm just trying to just hone my craft, pick up more skills, pick up more contracts, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah, I think I don't know. How old are you?
I guess
25, 21, 18? I don't know. You're
18. I wish.
you're Asian. You look super young.
No, 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 no. I'm 16.
You're 16.
I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm 26.
Okay, you're 26. Uh,
Oh.
so recently I got introduced to the startup ecosystem. The startup ecosystem has matured tremendously. Um, and I always thought there was like a scarcity of money, right? Working within startups, but I realized there's so much money. Like companies are looking for like the foreign VCs, big tech companies that want to sell their products. And so if you have a
You wanted to move out of startup world because there was no budget.
startup ecosystem is different from like being within a startup. So startup ecosystem meaning like
Ooh.
capital, accelerators, like working for accelerators, incubators, or like, Oracle, Google Cloud, AWS, they all have their departments that try to build relationships with early stage startups and help them grow with the hope that if they grow, they'll use our software.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Gotcha.
So that's a bit different. And
Yeah.
so I think when I was in startup, literally people were just like Googling everything, right? You had to go into like one of the best incubators to get access to resources. But now what I realized was, oh my gosh, everyone should try to become a founder just because there's so many damn resources out there. Um, yeah. And unless you have a founder friend, you don't know about that world.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Yeah. No, no, you're right. Like a big reason, like a big thing that I'm selling to, a big big thing I'm selling to. My brain's fried.
Mhm.
But I'm trying to sell not only to PMs and directors of product. I'm trying to sell to investors.
Mm.
Um, yeah, because you can just go straight, and it's just a much easier time. Um, and
Is
yeah, there's just more
what is
resources there.
what's the product that you're building right now?
I'm not building any product. I'm just selling contracting services. Yeah, but yeah.
Oh, to do user research.
Exactly, exactly. But yeah, I we should set up more time sometime. It'd be cool to chat
Yeah.
more and brain share. Um,
Yeah, teach me more about this because now that I'm gonna try to shift to PM, it'd be interesting to learn what do PMs want, right? Um, yeah, because when I was in the startup and PM that role was suggested to me, PMs were still new, right? Finding good PMs was super hard because you knew a good PM is very logical, yet they can really connect with users,
mhm,
right? So having balance is super hard. And a lot of PMs had a very technical engineering background.
mhm.
Uh, but there's non-tech PM roles now. But anyways, like it used to be easier to break into it. Now it's very structured. Mm.
Yeah, I think though you're not like breaking into the PM world. You're you're applying your learning experience design into a PM role, right? Because that's what you have that like no like PMs don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
Most PMs don't have that. I think I would really try to go through that, like just like not look at PM stuff. Just like again, like you said, just focus on products that like are learning experience products,
Mm-hmm.
like Lattice, um, where there are PM rules, and maybe you might even find like you might even like do CPO like lead companies like CTO.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know like type of roles because like you have that experience like that kind of that technical experience, right? Because in that universe it would be technical experience to know how to do LX, right? So yeah. But anyway, let's connect sometime.
Okay.
Um,
So thanks for
yeah, no worries.
all right.
Good
Take
day.
care.
See ya.
Ciao.